Social media is an unprecedented development in human communication. It allows anyone with an internet connection to connect and share information with anyone else on a public forum where it is voluntarily open to feedback and scrutiny. It appeals to some of the deepest aspects of human culture, both biologically and even commercially, simply by being a highly effective platform for dialogue and interaction. For these reasons alone, social media astounds me. However, it will undoubtedly play an even bigger role in humanity's future. Social media will be one of the biggest driving forces behind the age of big data and new discoveries, and anyone can be a part of it. It reveals trends in diverse aspects of our lives, ranging from heart disease to natural disaster response. And all of this happens, by and large, from our willingness to talk and to share. Whether that means participating in the latest hashtag trend, or sharing a deep personal story or work of art, every tweet or Facebook post or YouTube video contributes in its own way to something much, much bigger. My digital story and my future research will focus on Twitter in particular. The structure of Twitter, a microblogging site, may only allow for 140 characters right now, but users put a lot of content in a little space. Before we look at any of the little things I'm doing, I want to take a look at some of the big research and commercial projects that have inspired me. At the University of Pennsylvania, a group of researchers looked at the emotional and expressive content in tweets as a predictor for heart disease. The group itself epitomizes the structure of a big data project, as the researchers ranged from graduates in psychology to professors in computer science engineering. As summarized on the University of Pennsylvania's website, their research found that expressions of negative emotions such as anger, stress, and fatigue in a county's tweets were associated with higher heart disease risk. On the other hand, positive emotions like excitement and optimism were associated with lower risk. They compared the results with some traditional factors, including income, smoking, diabetes, gender, marital status, and race. And surprisingly, Twitter performed better as a predictor of heart disease than all the traditional predictors combined. The University of Pennsylvania is by far not the only research group looking into relationships like this. Another group at UCLA has analyzed Twitter data in order to monitor HIV and drug-related behavior. The UCLA researchers conclude that their use of Twitter data allows them to understand and possibly predict where HIV cases and drug use occur. One specific organization that is expanding on this kind of work in multiple directions is Sherbet.io. The goal of Sherbet is to use information in Twitter to deliver a sophisticated health analysis tool to the individual. However, Sherbet is not limited to health, nor is it limited to Twitter. They want to offer a range of benefits from effective time management to a better night's sleep, and they connect to social media services as varied as Reddit to Uber. With all this information, where should you go with this? Well, it's easy to use social media to further your passion and interests, so start wherever you want. In my personal big data experience, there are only a handful of skills I've used so far, but they have taken me pretty far in analyzing Twitter data content. And that content is largely unstructured data. Other than the character limit, a tweet has no predefined model. With 500 million tweets a day, Twitter is the very definition of big data, having a huge volume, great variety, and ever-increasing velocity. It must be acted upon in real time. So I'll show two of the ways I've used tweets. Some of the tools used to retrieve and manipulate this data are very accessible. In fact, it's quite possible to set up a Python program on a Linux machine in less than 20 minutes to do so. For example, in this small script, I can collect as many of the last tweets by Google as I want. Excluding retweets, I just collected the last 5 and print them to the screen. You can imagine that with huge amounts of data, this can be very hard to maintain. We'll need other tools to manipulate this data. One of the most basic skills in working with a huge stream of social media data is, oddly enough, the command line. and I'll show you why. Here's a script that writes 100,000 lines that each have the abbreviation LOL. This mimics a stream of Twitter data that might have slang in it, something that is more difficult to analyze. Using a command line tool sed, we can easily replace this text with a generic laughter phrase. Notice that running the right script does take a few seconds. And here are the contents. Now, if we run a sed command to substitute LOL with a different phrase, we notice that it happens almost instantly. It's fascinating how big data gives more power back to even the lowest levels of data manipulation. I guess in short, my big data story is just getting started, and I have a long way to go before I make any big discoveries, but I'm excited to be a part of my team, and I'm even more excited to see what we're going to uncover.